So you've absorbed all the books, you've read the blogs, you've studied professional scripts, and you've even written a few scripts of your own and gotten past making all the amateur mistakes. So from here on out, it's probably just a matter of time before you make it, right? Writing is somewhat unique among most professions in that a lot of aspirings underestimate just how good you have to be in order to break in. Now, some of the fault for this has to come from the gurus. A lot of script writing advice harps on the truly horrendous mistakes that new writers make, to the point where we might end up giving the impression that anything that avoids those pitfalls is exemplary. I recently read a lot of amateur screenplays, and for the most part, I was relieved to see a basic level of competence. There are a lot of writers with a good general grasp of story, some amusing dialogue and clever concepts, be they original or at least new spins on familiar ideas. But what I didn't see was much that compelled me to push those scripts further up the ladder. I've said this before, readers aren't paid to find good writing, we're paid to find great writing. Think about the things you recommend to people in your daily life. When you pass along a funny viral video, is it because it makes you smile in a shot with basic coverage, or is it because it makes you belly laugh and impresses you visually? Do you pull out your iPod to play your friends a song that merely is professionally constructed and produced, or do you pull it out to share a song that's awesome? And don't fall victim to the auto-tune argument. This is when someone who can't sing complains it's not fair that they don't have a career, while certain unnamed pop stars get by just fine with studio magic. In other words, don't point to examples of shitty Hollywood movies and say, my script is so much better than that, so give me my career. As hard as this is, you can't get lost in contrasting yourself with working writers and acting like you're owed the same success. As a writer, you cannot afford to ever be satisfied with a script that's just good enough. So you've written something that's about as good as the #3 movie at the box office this week? Great, make it better. You should have enough pride in your work that nothing can keep you from pushing it to be original and the very best it can be. Do you think aspiring basketball players look at the second and third string Lakers and say, man, I'm as good as them, why aren't I warming the bench? Hell no. They say, I gotta be better than Kobe. You can be a very good basketball player and still not be good enough to warm the Lakers bench. Being a working screenwriter is just as hard. Worse, it's sometimes impossible to know just where you fall on the spectrum. I wrestled with this myself, wondering, I'm good, but am I good enough? I've gotten plenty of good feedback from people who know what they're talking about, and maybe I am good enough now, and maybe I'm just on the verge. It's really hard to know, so I sympathize with those many writers who invest a lot of time in their scripts, only to hear, it just needs to be better. For me, I've resolved to never stop trying to make my next script better than the one that preceded it. And I've never given someone a script with the thought, this is good enough. Lesson writers, good enough is never enough. You got questions? Leave them for me in comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you back here next week.